All right, we'll go ahead and start. So thanks for joining us, everyone. We appreciate it. We've just been taking a ton of questions, obviously, in the last couple of weeks about working remotely. Just what are the options? What can I do? How can I do it? So we thought we'd just put together a quick 30-minute webinar to kind of go over some of the options and what we can do and what that looks like. I'm with a couple other presenters, obviously, here on the screen. So I'd like you guys to go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm Doug Evans, if you don't know me.
Yep, I'm David Zabka, the Western Territory Manager here with SDS2.
Tyler Hicks, Technical Sales Manager. Thanks for joining us today.
Okay, like I said, this is we're going to discuss SDS2 Edge and then go through a little bit of a PowerPoint, and then at the end we'll go ahead and do a live presentation of what SDS2 Edge is. So it's cloud-based modeling, I guess, in its truest form. We're all users of SDS2, and that means you're building model and you're adding metadata. What is metadata? Well, that could be drawings, that could be CNC, that could be connections, it could be status. So we're all building information into this model that fabricators kind of use as a central database to produce fabrication. And so that center database is very important to how I run my business. And so that up to the minute, up to the second information can be important at times. And there's a lot of ways to go about what we call internet-based or cloud-based modeling. So let's just kind of look at some of the different options. So starting as software as a service. So that's a subscription model, and it's different from what an SDS2 subscription would be in a sense. So it's not a product you install locally, really. It's just a username, password, access to using software. You might pay it by the minute, you might pay it by the hour, you could pay it by the month. The durations can change, but it's not a product that you really own, or you just use it as a subscription or as a service. Obviously, you need an internet connection to use that. Products that you may have used, DocuSign is one like that. Microsoft's got some tools like that in our industry. Procore is software as a service. You might have heard of Autodesk BIM 360, where they'll use it for projects and they all use it. So those are examples of software as a service. Another method, kind of getting into what Edge is infrastructure as a service. So this is a product that you purchase. You may own the product. You may use what we call a subscription to the product, but then you use it in the cloud. So you use it remotely. It requires these big supercomputers, and those computers are virtualizing machines. They may not actually have a hard cable between them, but you're actually installing it in the cloud or remotely from your office and using it and logging in, username and password, remotely with a bunch of other people. They all may be in your office. They may be in different parts of the city, may be in different states, may be in different countries, all using the product at the same time remotely. Both 1 and 2 allow for that, where you can be in different physical locations and use the product remotely in a network, up to minute live. SDS2 Edge is an example of that. Microsoft Azure, Amazon's got some services that do that. And so these are products that you use remotely, they back it up remotely, and all the IT is off-site. The third option is what we call file sharing. So it's where you install a product, you use a product locally, and then you push data to a Dropbox or to a file on the internet. All three of these require an internet. So Dropbox, WeTransfer, these are examples of doing that. And to kind of to make that point or to get through, so what is live multi-user modeling and the difference? Because you'll hear a lot of tools that say, hey, we offer a cloud service. Well, what does that mean? Well, we offer a live multi-user modeling. So if I create an Excel spreadsheet, or if I create a Word document, and I want to share that and have it collaborative, I can do it, let's say, through Dropbox. So if I do that in Dropbox, I'll create the document, place it in Dropbox, and then maybe David and Tyler and some other people in our office will grab a copy, make their modifications, and then send it back to Dropbox. Then when it all gets up to Dropbox, I'll look at the 3, 4, or 5 iterations and modifications, and then spend that coordination time to make sure everybody's changes get included. And so it can be confusing with Word documents and Excel spreadsheets. Needless to say, what could happen in a structural or 3D BIM model if I've got a lot of people pulling individual copies down, making modifications, and then trying to sync it, versus what Google Docs does, which is more what we do, whereas I create an Excel or Word document, I post it up here, then we all access it and work on it live at the same time. So I see your changes when I make changes. And so those are kind of the three different levels of what we call cloud-based services or modeling. And what we're going to show you here at the end of this presentation is more the Google Docs or what SDS2 Edge does. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tyler to talk a little bit more about what costs you have now and kind of what this would look like. Go ahead, Ty.
Thanks a lot, Doug. Appreciate it. So yeah, we're going to go over some of the numbers that we have here and some of the experiences that our customers that are currently using this have seen. And like Doug mentioned, this is infrastructure as a service. So this processing power and things like that, it's in the cloud. You're going to be looking at the shift from investments from your local hardware, replacing those machines every 3-4 years, whatever the case may be, to a virtualized machine. The updates, the IT costs of people coming in your office, updating things, virus protection, all that kind of stuff is going to be handled with this. You can connect anywhere because it is a virtualized desktop through VMware. So here are some of the numbers that we're looking at. Unexpected and expected costs here. So you could expect, all right, hardware costs. I'm looking at 3 machines, probably $1,500 a piece, a server, $5,000. That gets us just a shade under 10 grand there. Then your IT costs. 3 clients in a server. A guy's going to spend, maybe 25 hours on each of those per year. And then, for your backups, license updates, software installation, and others. So you're looking at a 3-year cost of about $47,000 with these numbers. So now if we look at, by taking advantage of Edge, you can look at 3 thin clients. You don't have to, but they have the thin clients out there. The 3 of us are all running off laptops right now doing this presentation. But 3 thin clients, you're looking at $325 each. The lifespan of those is going to be much greater than that 4 years. What I've been told is anywhere from 6 to 8 years, those thin clients will be solid. So you're not making that reinvestment at year 3 or year 4 in your, local hardware. Server, you don't need a server. So all that $5,000, all that money is going to be saved. Your IT cost is just what your Edge subscription would be, which is that $300 times 3 stations. So you're looking at about, $10,800 annually. 3-year cost, you're going to be about 13 grand below what we were looking at the other way. And that's just the 3-year cost. Like I said, those thin clients are going to last a lot longer. So year 4, year 5, year 6, you're going to increase your cost savings. Now to handle this, and what we provide is a couple different options here. Our Edge base package, the EL, you get 4-core processing, you're going to get 8 gigs of RAM, 2 monitors at 4K resolution, and 100 gigabytes of storage. If you want to step up to the Edge LG, that pretty much doubles it. And so we have that option there. And then we have our SDS2 Edge Custom, which is we can kind of mix and match to see what's the best fit for what you guys want to do. With that, I'm going to toss it over to David here. He's going to take us through some more advantages, more in depth. And here you go, Dave.
All right. Thanks, Tyler. So starting off with Edge, since this is all virtual, all hosted in the cloud, we really can eliminate a lot of geographic barriers that you have from, remote locations. Everybody's kind of quarantined, working from home now. So Edge makes that really easy. Maybe you have, multiple offices. Maybe you got an office in Dallas, one in Minneapolis. With Edge, as long as everybody's on Edge, they're all connected all the time, and takes a lot of headache out of things there. Or maybe it's increasing mobility to where you need to go to the field. Maybe you're doing work in the field, you need access to that live SDS2 information, log on to Edge as long as we have an internet connection out there in the field, and check statuses, different things like that. It's always live, so you're going to get the most up-to-date information when you're checking that out. Broadening your talent pool. So we hear it all the time that there's always a detailer shortage, and good detailers are really hard to find. So now, you know, if you find a detailer halfway across the country, that person might have to relocate to wherever you're at. With Edge, it eliminates the requirement to relocate, and now that person can work wherever they live alongside you as if you were in the office. And project collaboration. So, you know, maybe we can take on larger projects that we hadn't in the past by teaming up with other detailers. Maybe we just need to meet a really tight schedule, so we got to ramp up staff and scale up our staff temporarily. Edge is going to make that very easy, very possible. And then, you know, global collaboration. This goes back to kind of removing the geographic barriers. Maybe we've got multiple sites. You know, we can have somebody in the States here working 8 to 5 during the day. Another location can hop on Edge and use that after that 8 to 5. There's no cool down period, nothing like that. Again, all the information is live, so you don't have to transfer back and forth. You don't have to manage your changes and push the changes and pull the changes. It's all done live for you. And file management, backups. So with SDS2 Edge, a 30-day rolling backup is standard service that we provide with this. Software updates for SDS2 are automatic. Managing your license updates, your license files are done for you. You can install, you know, whatever other software you need to run your business, and we'll keep those up to date at your, you know, when you need it as well. Again, eliminating that model management and the change management, pushing changes, pulling changes. It's all done live with SDS2. And then we also provide kind of an FTP and file sharing server through SDS2 Edge as well. So if you're paying for an FTP, you know, some type of file sharing right now, we can probably eliminate that for you and that cost there. And then again, that live model, there's no cool down period, kind of mentioned that with the follow the sun detailing on the previous slide. And something else that's really handy here, especially for our administrators or management, is this activity tracking that we provide with SDS2 Edge, to where you can track all your employees and where they're being productive, what software they're using, really probably down to the minute, so we can really track that and see where we might need to increase some productivity or where we have room for improvement. Live in-model review. So model approval was something that was pushed by AISC in the industry here a few years back and gained some traction, but there were barriers in there, and the biggest barrier, or one of the biggest barriers, was the fact that the engineer and the detailer were a lot of times in different offices. So trying to keep all the data and all the information up to date was a huge hurdle. With SDS2 Edge, the detailer, the engineer, everybody that needs access to that project, as long as they're on SDS2 Edge and connected with you, can access that live information. So that makes the model approval process much easier. Shorten timelines. You know, RFIs and that RFI process can help with a faster turnaround on that, and just improve communication overall with all parties. So is there a downside to all of this? You know, a couple things to just consider is that, yes, you do need internet connection to run this. You know, we've had people running on this with as low as 1.5 meg internet speeds. Just to give you an idea, I'm at home here in my home. I live outside of Lincoln, and we don't have the greatest internet available. I think typically I'm running about 17 to 18 megs on my speed, and I have 0 issues. Doug, I believe, is on satellite internet, and he doesn't have any issues there either. Another consideration is legal requirements. So, you know, before you hop on this and we install a bunch of software out virtually for you, you probably would want to check with your software vendors to make sure that you're not violating any license agreements or user agreements there. So. And I believe, just to throw in there too, another thing with the legal requirements, you know, if you're working with somebody and you know they're on SDS2 Edge, or you're outsourcing some detailing work to somebody, you know they're on SDS2 Edge, since we manage the license files and the software installs on this virtual desktop and this virtual environment for you, you know without a doubt that that is a legal license, and you know we can kind of unexpected benefit kind of combat or help prevent a lot of software piracy altogether by collaborating on Edge. So.
All right, so that was the presentation part. We're going to go ahead and get into a demonstration. So what we're going to do is, I've got Edge on the desktop open, so I'm going to just go ahead and open it and maximize the screen. And as David said, I live outside of Lincoln. I'm on just a satellite internet. My speeds can vary from 810 to 25 at any point in time. So I can go up, and I've used this fairly routinely, so and I haven't seen any speed. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the model. So in this case, what I'm going to do then is, let's just say I'm the reviewer, I'm the approver or engineer, and I'm going to have David and Tyler then log into this model and add. Go ahead and add steel. Let's say David's going to add some steel into, let me make sure I'm in the right job here real quickly. Yep. Minimize this. So I'm going to have David add some handrail into that area, and Tyler's going to be adding some structural stuff as an addition to this. So just to make it a little more obvious, I'm going to go ahead and tile this and create a vertical tile. While they're going ahead and do that, I'm going to, over here in this window, I'm going to go ahead and hide these this concrete a little bit. So you can see as I'm working, and I'm going to zoom in here and watch David do this, and then maybe I'll zoom over here, and as Tyler adding steel and David's adding steel, I can solids it, and I can see them both adding stuff at the same time. If I come across something that I want to see changed or modified at any point in time, I can check and I can add these notes. So for those of you, obviously most of you are familiar with SDS2. We have notes that we can add into the model, and they may indicate things like, hey, I have a question about the loading information, or hey, how do you want to handle this, this where maybe you'd foul. Let's just zoom in here on Tyler's model, and I'm going to go ahead and solids and see what he's doing for connections. He's got a clip angle for a handshake there. Maybe I wanted him to change that to a shear so we don't have to run into that. So I'm going to go ahead and add a note right now. I'll add and select that, and I'll say handshake condition. I'm going to change that to red so he knows it's important. I'm going to add a comment, maybe change to plate connection. So I go ahead and hit OK. Tyler will then see that on his end. I'm going to look over here then and evaluate what David's doing. Turn that to solid a little bit. And I can see some toe plates that maybe I don't want for whatever reason. So I'm going to go ahead and make a comment to David on this one over here and say, toe plates, and add a comment that says, please remove toe plates. For whatever reason, maybe we'll be doing something else. I'll go ahead and change that color back to red so he sees it's something that he wants to change. So now that I've made the comment to there, I'm going to go back and see how Tyler's doing. Okay, he's already changed that to shear plate. So I'm going to go ahead and double click that note, make sure everything's good from a color standpoint. And then I'm going to go ahead and evaluate Tyler's or David's.
And I'm still in the process. I'm slightly behind you, Doug. So okay.
Yeah, you're slow, David.
There we go. I'm slow. I'm sorry.
So you removed the toe plate there. Again, I can evaluate the note and change the color to green to make sure everything's okay. So when we go back and we're doing approval, we can see the changes. And so this is an example of how both we can work internally as just detailers networking. We can do it as using approval internally or checkers internally, and also externally if people in different cities and different companies having access and logging in and then doing approval like this, like David mentioned with the model approval. Something I guess I didn't mention before is we also have the capability with this is to create a job repository that has 3 or 2 or 3 or 4 companies. So when David mentioned the ability to scale up the number of detailers, you basically just allow them access to a drive that you've created that allows shared access and shared models. And so that's really the presentation, guys and gals. Appreciate you guys watching and listening to us, and see if there's any questions right off the top here. I haven't seen any yet, guys. We did an outstanding job. You see that one, David?
Yep.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'll just jump in there on that first one. So, other software installations work, Bluebeam, Office, etc. It's just really the same as anything else. So, this really isn't. Once you log in here, this really isn't any different than running a physical desktop computer. It's just hosted and ran through the cloud. So if you wanted to, Doug, I think Bluebeam is installed. You could fire up Bluebeam and show it's same old Bluebeam as what you're used to. And what we do for this type of thing is when you decide to go with SDS2 Edge and you want to get on there, we kind of just send you a little questionnaire, little form to fill out, what softwares are required to be installed, that type of thing, so that we can get it set up and going for you with everything that you need.
And there's another question. Yeah, so if you have someone just doing accounting, David mentioned the different levels, that's that custom level. So if you have someone just doing accounting software or using FabTrol, FabSuite, StruMIS, EJE, or some CNC tool that they don't need the 3D graphics of this tool, that's a lesser value or a lesser priced product because it doesn't have the graphic nature. But then you can have your entire office on it. And going to Tyler's points and what he was saying is just reducing your IT costs is having those products then backed up and the virus scanning and all the stuff that you find yourself doing done for you then.
Yep. So a couple other questions here. I'm gonna grab 2 questions here. First one is any version of SDS2. Again, yeah, it's just like running a local physical computer. So let us know what versions you need on there, and we can get those installed. And then a second part to that is how do toolbars and shortcut keys work. So a lot of you guys always customize your toolbars, have your customized quick keys set up. So again, when we send you out the questionnaire, just let us know you have those things, share those with us, and we'll get those set up on there for you how you need. Otherwise, you know, once it's set up, you do have the ability to transfer any files from your local network or your local computer up here to this virtual workspace to use it. So,
hey Tyler, you want to take that question?
What question is that?
Can you lock out users from making changes? And
Can you lock out users for making changes?
and
Yeah,
how
I
do
mean,
you
we're
run
going to have our,
fix?
I'm sorry, say that again.
And how do you run verify and fix?
Oh, well, I mean, that's just going to be the exact same as it is right now. I mean, your utility functions, verify and fix, it's going to be the same thing. With the newer versions, it's going to let you know and it's going to kick things out. As far as if other people are in there, it's going to give you some notification. To lock people out, if you go, we've got our, you know, kind of a rights control package, access control, where you can go in and you can set certain properties for certain users.
Okay. Any other questions?
So there's a good one here, Doug. I'll throw it at you and let you answer this one. I do a lot of work with multiple detailers, all who have separate companies, and wondering what it would look like for us all. Do they all have to purchase this, or just one need to purchase this?
Yeah, so there's a couple things I'll talk about there. Yeah, so you'd all need to be on, and that's one of the powers of this tool, I think, as we see it evolve. Not only this current situation that's allowed us or forced us into some of this, but I think in 5 years from now, this is going to be more prevalent than less. And so I think it's important as business owners and people that are in the business to figure out how to work with other companies more productively remotely. And so everybody would need to be a part of Edge and have an ability to do that. Again, we've had hundreds of conversations in the last 2 weeks with customers, and something I've encouraged fabricators specifically, if you're a fabricator and you outsource your detailing, I certainly would be on, I'd have a few licenses on this platform and would probably require whoever is in a different country to be on that. So I could see the data up to the minute live and not have that Dropbox mentality. Is because then you can participate locally, and then you could ramp up. So it's a really good question. It's also a question about access or passwording. In SDS2, there's password ability, right? You can password people from setup, and you can pass, so that the same technology would apply there as well. So.
Kind of another one slightly related to that is if somebody's developed their own plugins, if anyone can use them, and would they be able to copy them off the Edge server? So one of the things to keep in mind here is that when we set this up for you, it's really a private, it's very private network, just like you have today. The only time anyone else would be able to access files on your network is in a case where you let us know and specifically tell us to set something up to where you can work with them. And then really what we're doing is kind of setting up a separate drive, basically a separate job repository that's shared between one company and the other to work together then.
And Tyler, once you hit this one, if we finish a job using Edge, can we download it to our site, or how do we get data up to it?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be easy. You just be able to download everything you have up there. You can upload it with our project transfer. You just slide it in. We went through that the other day. It's you know, really no different than doing it in-house. So when you're done with the project, and if you want to pull it back down, you just request it and it'll be able to come back down.
One's asking about multi-screen. I'm not sure exactly what the question is there, but going back to, we did have a slide in there that kind of laid out what's provided. So standard We provide 2 screens up to 4K resolution. And on that custom setup, I believe we can do up to 4 screens.
Yeah, there's another question, and there's a couple, 3 that are about the same, but yeah. So this is in addition to SDS. This isn't SDS2 with. So if you have SDS2 and you purchase the Edge service, it's a way to use the tool. So it's on top of SDS2. It's just how you network your product using SDS2 in the cloud. Any other questions? So do I need to install SDS2 myself? Not at all. And so that's kind of what Tyler was talking about. David was mentioning is that all the time you spend as he's a business owner, a detailer, a fabricator guy, and you want to be working on the steel model, but you're spending your time doing IT work, whether somebody's machine got a virus or I got to install another update from SDS or whatever hardware problem might happen, then I've got to do that, and I spend that time argue anywhere from $100, $125 an hour, whatever it is. I'm not detailing and producing. And so the people that we've had adopt this really find that as a huge saving that they didn't expect. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I'll throw in one more question that I see here. You know, it can be used as an app on a Windows computer using VMware. So yes, that's exactly how Doug, Tyler, and myself are running today here. We all have laptops that we carry with us all the time, and we're all just logged in through Wi-Fi running the VMware. I believe you can also just log in through a web browser. You do get better performance through the VMware. Or, as we kind of talked about in the slides previously, you could transition to using just the thin clients that really just communicate the information via the internet and allow you to plug in your external keyboards and monitors and mouse and such.
Mr. Dukevich, glad you're here. Yes, so you can be in touch with the people that do the install, and they can only pick the versions you want. Or you can just have them install everything and just log in. So I can have, just like my desktop, I can have 3 or 4 different versions of SDS. If I go back to, I don't know if you can see it, but if I hit my programs, I think I do on this machine actually have many versions: 2017, 2018, 2020, 2020-04. So you can just have them install whatever and then just use the one you want. I think we're at the end of our time, guys. Again, thanks for joining. If you've got any additional questions, again, Doug, David, Tyler, we're more than happy to answer them. Go ahead and give us a call, shoot us an email. And thanks for listening. Have a great day, stay connected, and stay healthy.